apologise in advance for this. It is not short. I would like to say that, firstly, over the last year or so, I have made this speech in my head about 500 times. On every one of those occasions, it was bloody hilarious. So if it isn't tonight, you probably need to take some responsibility. Is all I'm saying. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm aware there's a little bit of tension in the room, and there are a couple of matters I want to address so that everybody can relax a little bit. Beg your pardon? Can you hear me okay? Okay, I need to talk straight into the microphone. First thing that everybody always thinks at some point at a wedding, when they've already had something to eat and an annoying nerd has started speaking, people think to themselves, what's the earliest I can legitimately bugger off? There's a very simple rule on this, which is that any time after 10 o'clock is fine, you can just go, don't need to make an excuse. Any time before 10 o'clock, you need to have a pre-prepared lie about a babysitter or similar. Now there is one exception in the room to this. This is Matthew and Kay, who sit over there. On Matthew and Kay's wedding day, I had tickets to the Ashes. You guys, you're staying to the end. I've had a chat with James and Abby. I've already volunteered you for clearing tables. So if anybody sees them leave, try and stop them. Security on the doors, please. A few thank yous to do. First thing, we've got some flowers that are going to be handed out. Firstly, to Dion's lovely mum, Linda, my mother-in-law. Secondly, to my mum at the other end of the table. And I'll let Dion actually hand the flowers over. And thirdly, to the head of the family. Now, Bob, I know you think that's you. Everybody else knows it's your mother-in-law. So the incomparable Anne Morrison. Okay. Finally, before I finish with the thank yous, I would like to thank our wedding planner and coordinator. She's been with us right from the start. She's done an incredible job. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Dion Astley-Morton. One of the great things about being with Dion is that you very rarely are in any doubt about where you should be or what you should be doing, and having that degree of certainty in your life is fantastic. So going on to the next area of tension in the room that I can sense, that I want to address. I'm calling this, if my remote will work. Hang on a moment. There we go. Goes to the machine. Okay, the elephant in the room. Okay. Corny, sorry. So, I understand that this doesn't make any sense. Okay, so for those of you that are seeing something that looks a little bit like this, it's okay to say it out loud. Okay? I'm with you guys. If Dion wants to date a bloke with short legs and a head that looks like a potato, that's up to her. You should not be judging her. Okay, so I then thought, well, weddings are quite factionalised by their very nature. Many people will be sat on a table with people they don't really know, and they may know their own little clique or people that they've worked with or met in the past. But I thought it would be nice and inclusive to try and explain to you who you're all in the room with today. So I thought that would be an interesting thing to do, and actually it brought about a bit of a crisis of confidence on my part. Now, those nerds, or those that know me as being a bit of a nerd, won't be surprised. I've got some charts to go through. Attendees today: Team Phil, 32%. Team Dion. I know. Yeah. And I looked at this and I thought to myself, is it really true that my wife is more than twice as popular as I am? So I thought, well, you can prove anything with statistics, so I'm going to. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to a jaunty little piece that I call, if I click the button enough times, a statistical analysis of the relative popularity of Phil and Dion based upon attendees at their wedding. Now, you don't need to worry about taking notes. These slides will be available as a handout. There's also an extended version of this presentation that I will be doing for Dion in the penthouse later. That's just for her. Okay. So I thought I'd turn my attention to Team Dion. Who are you? And are you really a function of popularity? Okay. 40% of Team Dion are family. Now that is, now that's not exclusively, but that's mainly her brother's kids. These were people that did not have a television until very, very late. There's bloody loads of you. I was slightly concerned. I did have to check that I wasn't marrying a pikey. But I've checked outside, no obvious caravans. We all seem to be reasonably nice people, so... Okay, the next section, partners. This is, you might be going out with a family member, you might be the other half of one of Dion's friends. But again, if we're looking at popularity here, we've got 61% of Team Dion who have got no bloody choice. they're here whether they like it or not. Okay. Now, things are about to get dark now. The next category, it's the next elephant in the room, and the reason why a comparison of us on popularity grounds is not reasonable. And that is, some of the people, I apologise to the kids in advance here, some of the people in this room became friends with Dion in the first place because she's hot. Okay. Now, my point is that I don't have any such people on my list. Well, anybody that became friends with me in the first place because I'm hot, feel free to raise your hands. That's not true. That's not what I possibly believe. Okay, now, alright mate, after. There's a reason for this. It's not because I'm not hot, but I don't want people like that in my life. I'm not a piece of meat. Okay, so anybody like that who's clearly just wants a piece of this, and that's it, then they're out. So you exist in the room, and you know who you are, but I didn't really want to cause any embarrassment. I just wanted to get it out of the way. So the next category, perverts. So that's you guys, and you know who you are. Now, I'd like to point out, and this is quite a modern way of thinking, that this isn't just men. Okay, I'd like to say, and again, you know who you are, so I'd like to say that, just in case you're unaware, groping a woman's bottom without her consent is a criminal offence. Julie Neal. It's a criminal offence, Julie, and that's mine now. Yes, so on that basis, hashtag #MeToo does not mean, is it my turn next? The next category is an upsetting one for me. Traitors. These are people who were originally Team Phil, who met Dion and jumped the divide. Karen Foster, not even going to try and deny it. Yeah. And Joanne, Zara, and Chloe Sargent, I had a relationship with those girls dating back in some instances 14 years. They met Dion in February, and by the end of the weekend they were leaping like salmon over to their side of the Not good. Okay. Friends. Okay, so this is legitimate. These are people that have a choice to be here. But as you can see, barely 1 in 5. So, okay. Final category, unclassified. Now, I don't want you to feel offended if you're unclassified. This basically means I don't know enough about your relationship with Dion to be able to put you in one of those other categories. Now, that's technically Dion's fault, because I have been told the nature of the relationship, but I was then probably told a very long story about a problem you had with a fence, and at some point I have defragged my brain and all of the information pertaining to that story is gone. So, there's your analysis of Team Dion, and I think we can agree it's a fairly damning position. But I can see quite a bit of disquiet in the room, and the reason there's some disquiet in the room is people, you're looking at me, you're ahead of me, you're going, Phil, the problem is these categories are not mutually exclusive, and you'd be right, wouldn't you? You might be looking at this and thinking, well, I'm someone's partner, but I would also regard myself as a friend of Dion's. So where do I sit on the chart? It's a fair question. You may also be thinking, well, I'm a distant cousin of Dion's, but I'm also a massive pervert. So again, it doesn't really help you position yourself on the chart. And I can see people looking at me, they're going, is my clicker still working? They're going, Phil, what are you going to do about this? Now, in particular, I've noticed that the Cox family has a table full of very talented mathematicians, and Daniel Cox, and they're, sorry Dan, sorry not sorry, and they're saying, Phil, how are you going to get out of this one? And I go, it's okay, please let me introduce the Venn diagram. Now, it isn't very often that a Venn diagram gets a cheer. Now, I want to talk you through this diagram with aid of my pointer. Now, I'm hoping that there isn't anybody in here that is in this category, because if that's true, we've just invited some offenders who have no merit to us whatsoever. Over here in the middle, friends but also perverts. Now, we've already mentioned Julie Nim. I'm not going to embarrass her by mentioning it again. Julie, I would say you're not on your own in there. At very least, you were drinking a cocktail with Catherine Harris down the front here. So, yeah, that category is quite straightforward. Now, friends. Again, nice and straightforward, just decent people that are friends of Dion's. I'm not going to mention any of them by name, because loads of them massively high maintenance, and the ones I don't mention will kick off. Now, that just leaves us with the partners section. And again, if you're a partner of somebody that's a friend of Dion's, and you want to know how to classify yourself on the Venn diagram, I can help you. It's a very simple rule. Okay, this section. If you have said to your other half during the week, oh, I'm really excited about going to Dion's wedding this week, then clearly you are in this nice section here. You are a partner, but also a friend. If, however, you said to your other half at any point this week, where are we going again on Saturday? You're in that section. You're just a partner. You're here under duress. If at any point this week you have said to your other half, where are we going this week on Saturday, and your other half has said to you, we're going to Dion's wedding, and you've said, is that the one with the bangers? You're in there. Now, there is of course one section here that I've missed, which is right in the middle. somebody who is a friend, a pervert, and a partner. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce Bully's Special Prize, if anybody that remembers that, Mr. Michael Harris. Sat over in the front. Now, I would say for those of you that haven't met Mike, he does have some fascinating views on continuing development in the business environment, and he's happy to share them with you. Health and safety warning: never look directly at his teeth. Yeah, it's you'll be blinded. I've had to filter this. Yeah. Now, Mike, I don't want you to be offended as being Bully's Special Prize. Effectively, you are the human embodiment of that. And to be honest, who is not looking at that, particularly the men in the room, and going, do you know what, I still aspire to own that? So, that's the end of Team Dion, and I think we can now agree they're a pretty rum bunch, and I'm beginning to look a bit better about things. Okay. Then it gets really dark. Okay. Team Phil. 29% family, bit of a rum bunch as well. But delighted they're here. Partners, 29%, same situation. So again, my stats slightly better than Dion's. We've now got 58% compared with their 61 of people who are here for me, who don't have any choice. Okay, now it gets really dark. Only a few people will understand why. Next category. Michael Copson. Mike is sat over here. Now the people that don't know Mike, your lives are amazing. And they may be thinking to themselves, why has one bloke been given a category to himself? Whereas anybody that knows Mike will be going, of course Mike Copson has a category to himself, and I would have left if you'd put me in the same one. Now, it seems a bit unfair to pick on Mike, but I would like to say he's the bloke that responds to every Facebook I put with the word cock. And it isn't even context specific. Right, so I could put, one of the kids has been run over, they'll probably pull through though, and he will put cock. Now, fair enough. Now, I joke slightly because Mike is love him to bits, and he's the overachiever from our group from school days. He's done incredibly well. He worked in Formula One and travelled the world for many years. He's now a big deal in Shell. Super proud of him. Massive overachiever. But actually, the main reason that he's an overachiever in my eyes is he's got a girl with him. Now, none of us saw this coming. Therefore, my next category, future Mrs. Copson. Now, you'll notice that that's in red. I didn't do that. PowerPoint did it itself on the assumption that it was a mistake. Where do we go next? Friends. 38%, a tolerant bunch that they are. I would like to introduce you to a few of them, or mention a few of them now. If I can click enough times. Okay. First one, Mr. Neil Wood, sat over here. He wasn't my first boss, but he was my first mentor. So, on a serious note, anybody that ever feels like they have benefited in some way from my professional abilities, such that they are, to some degree, has this man to thank. Notwithstanding that, he is the most self-opinionated, cantankerous man you could ever wish to meet. And it was once said of him that he was a man who wasn't prepared to accept yes for an answer. Next, Marina, where are you? Marina thinks she's going to get rinsed here. She's been thinking this is going to happen. Now, that actually isn't true. I'm going for a moment of sincerity here. Sincerity warning, yeah. Marina and I have been friends for 30 years, since I was 6. And in all 30 of those years, there has not been so much as a sharp word between us. Now, that's amazing in any friendship, but when one of the people is me, that's quite a feat. Marina, all I have to say to you is that every cricket match we've been to, every concert that I've been to, was better because you were there. And I don't think it's saying too much to say that I've almost come to regard you as being like a second mother to me. Sting in the tail, sting in the tail. Chris Williams, where is he? Somewhere around, massive bald head. Chris Williams from school, everyone. You remember? You remember? Over there? No, nobody remembers Chris Williams from school. This is because the reason he's not memorable is he's just the most fundamentally decent man you could wish to meet. And that's not... People remember me for being a bit of a twat. Chris was just busy being a really nice bloke. And if the rest of the world was like Chris Williams, it would be a better place. There would, however, be quite a few barbers retraining as bakers. Mr. Sergeant, sat over here. He said he didn't want to be in my speech. Tough. Sarge and I have been friends for again 14, 15 years, something like that. He's been transformational in my life in many ways. Friend, client, mentor, accomplice, partner in crime. You will understand that, or you'll get the pattern of the way that I'm going now and understand that every other person that I've spoken about, there's been a little sting in the tail. It seems like it's going to be nice, and then there's a bit of abuse at the end. This relationship's way too lucrative for that. So I'd just like to say, as my little joke on the end, Sarge, you're really great, mate. Okay. Sparky, Marcus Killingworth, best man. This guy has been by my side for nearly 40 years, for most of our adult lives, he's been on the other side of the world. So I'll be missing some out, but he's lived in Chicago, Texas, China, Puerto Rico, Australia, Iran. Now lives in Saudi Arabia. When people's mate of mine said, when he heard that my best man was coming from Saudi Arabia, he said, "You really haven't got any mates, have you?" Now, in that same period of time that Marcus has been doing those, I've done a similarly exotic lap, which was Droitwich, Worcester, Solihull, Pershore, Droitwich. So I think we can agree that my carbon footprint is a little small. Notwithstanding that, for all of those, the thing I can say about him is he may have been on the other side of the world, but whenever I've needed him, he's been 30 seconds away. Any difficult times in my life, good times, bad times, he's been there the whole time, and love him to bits for it. Just recently, even, and this was kept out of the papers, but he and I, single-handedly, the two of us, fought off a Martian invasion in London. Now, like I say, this was kept out of the papers, but obviously because the world's still standing, obviously, ultimately, we prevailed, as you can see here. So you have all of us to thank for your lives. That's all I'm saying. Serious note, just for a moment, an actual serious note. Many, for all the friends that I've just mentioned, and those others of you that are in the room. There was a song many years ago by Bad Lerman called "Everyone's Free to Wear Sunscreen," and it was a piece of advice that was being issued by the dean of a university to some graduating students. And he had this to say on the subject of friendship: "Understand that friends come and go, but for the precious few you should hold on. Work hard to bridge the gaps in geography and lifestyle, because the older you get, the more you need the people you knew when you were young." I don't think there's ever been a truer word said. So to all the guys I've just mentioned, for all my other friends who are in the room who have tolerated me through the journey so far, my actual sincere thanks, and there's not a joke on the end of that. Okay, we're nearly there now. You can breathe. Little analysis of the top table so you know who everybody is. Yes, Linda, I can see you waving. Okay. Linda and Bob, the in-laws. Interesting story. So I first met Linda and Bob back in 2012. Dion took me up to their house, and it was a bit of a nerve-wracking moment. I'm sat there talking, minding my P's and Q's, trying to make the right impression, and I'm looking at Dion's mum, and I'm thinking, there's something familiar about you. Sorry, Linda, it's all right. I'll explain. And I'm looking at her, and I'm trying to think what it is that's familiar about her, and then the penny dropped. In 1989, I put my hand up her skirt. Now, I hasten to add this was an accident. Essentially, we were both at the we were at the same New Year's Eve party at the Pear Tree in Worcester, and I joined on a conga that was going upstairs, timed it slightly wrong, and surprised the lady in front of me, who spun round and was a little bit surprised. Now, it's interesting the way time gives you a different perspective, because I didn't really think anything of it, and for the 25 years that followed it, I thought the only embarrassing thing that happened that night was Rich Deus over there got off with a really ugly girl. Now, as it turns out, the most embarrassing thing that happened that night was done by me. Bob, I've had great fun with. He's been an absolute blast. I knew I'd hit it off well with Bob from the word go, because I went home and I said to my parents, I've got on really well with Bob. He's already got a nickname for me. What's he called? He called me Bluey. Okay? I was delighted. Turns out he calls everybody Bluey. Apart from women who are called young lady, or the plural of young lady, which is irregular, dolly birds. The other thing I'd say to Bob, not only is he my father-in-law, he's also our builder. So to the fellas in the room, if your dream is to buy a perfectly decent house and then turn it into something that's big enough to ram full of someone else's kids, have a chat with Bob, he'll sort you out. Okay, next in line, bonus children. The speech marks are important here. Dion tells people that back in the day I'd said that I didn't really want to be with somebody that had got children or dogs. But she was beautiful, they seemed very nice, but I was playing the long game, and actually it started out quite well, because Dion and I had been together for less than 2 weeks, and an 8-year-old Georgia left home. This was because Matthew had said that she smelt of poo. Now, I visited Georgia in at her new house. I say house, it was the curb next door but one. And although I was pleased that she'd moved out, I tried to be the adult. And I said, "Why have you moved out, Georgia?" "Matthew says I smell of poo." And I said, "If it's not true, is it, darling?" And she looked at me and she said, "It is." Notwithstanding that, she did move back in later that day, which was a shock. As it's turned out, however, the kids are the best bit. Sam, don't worry, mate, I'm not going to embarrass you. Sam is my sports buddy. We've been to Wembley together, and I've got him into anybody that's prepared to hide in their shirt being scared during a darts match is my kind of guy. And anybody that's prepared to ask me questions about the rules of Test cricket is a friend for life. Next, Matt. Matt is the human equivalent of a lion, in that he spends most of his life resting and eating, and resting and eating, and resting and eating, peppered with very, very occasional bouts of physical activity, like this. What I'd like to say about this is not only is he talented, but he is an incredibly quick learner. All of these things, I show him once, he's got it. On this basis, Matt is without doubt the coolest person I know, and one of the genuine highlights of the last year for me was when Matt was going out and he asked if he could borrow one of my shirts. I have never felt so cool. Porge, Georgia to everybody else, Porge to us. A couple of things that you need to know. Some of it's going over old ground. Smells of poo. Her self-confessed. So yeah. Another thing though, dangerously witty. Do not engage. You do not want to engage this girl. We had an incident that was very damaging for me a couple of weeks ago. Georgia was speaking in a very grumpy way in the morning, sort of growling and not really wanting to engage. And Dion said to her, "Georgia, stop talking like that. You sound like a man." And I said, being me, bit of a twat, I said, "Yeah, and the beard's a bit of a giveaway." And she said, without even looking up, "At least I can grow one." I will not be making that mistake again. My mum and dad, I really haven't got any jokes about these guys. They live 2 minutes up the road from me. That, at their age, that should be for me to help them out. For every time I ask them for help, they help me out tenfold. My dad sang for us today. That was his. That was actually his retirement performance from performing in public. He's been singing in public for well over 50 years. He announced his retirement from it early in the year because slugging the stuff around and whatever was becoming a bit of a pain. I'd said to him I didn't want him bowing out at a Women's Institute meeting on a Tuesday night somewhere. So I asked him if he'd sing for me today. So, as I say, it was his farewell performance. It means a lot to me. If any of you see him perform in public again, then today means nothing. I'm not that expressive a person. I very rarely, I'm not one who really often enough tells my parents how much they mean and how much I love them, and I'm not going to start now. They will have to figure it out from the available evidence. Lauren, my daughter, firstborn. I thought I'd make a. But I thought, what can I tell you about Lauren? I thought I'd put down some of her key characteristics for us to enjoy. She's pedantic. She's very particular about grammar. She hates being late almost as much as she hates other people being late. And she's a control freak. She always has to have a plan, and she copes badly with changes to the plan once it's been agreed. And I looked at these and I thought, where on earth does she get those character traits from? I mean, I know she's not here, but your mum has got a lot to answer for you. Seriously, I look at these and I feel proud. I feel like I have a legacy. I feel people want to live on through their children, and I know with Lauren that I'll be able to do. Joshua, a man of very few words, but when he speaks, is almost always worth listening. Very much like his father in that respect. Now, Joshua as a person, he's fascinating because he is somebody to whom nothing of interest has ever happened. Ever. Good or bad, everything in Joshua's life is somewhere between a 3 and a 7. Part of me kind of envies that. I've got some examples for you, and you'll be able to see the conflict here. Some genuine Joshua quotes here. On having his wisdom teeth out, Joshua said, "It was okay, turned up, bit of pain, went home again." On doing his GCSEs, Joshua said, "No point being nervous, haven't really got any choice, have you?" Yeah. I think we can all be slightly jealous of that. Okay. But, on driving a Ferrari for his birthday, Joshua said, "It was alright." And my favourite from a few weeks ago, on being asked if he would like a ticket to the Cricket World Cup final, big deal, Joshua said, "Is it Lord's, isn't it? Bit far to go for a cricket match." Before I get on to the main event, Dion told me that this was meant to be all about her, and I realise I've not done that well. I would genuinely like to say thank you to all of our kids. We're super proud of them. They've made life very easy for the two of us. They get on brilliantly together, and individually we're super proud of them. Sam and Lauren are making big strides in their careers. The others are doing great things with their studies, and we're super proud. The main event, the reason we're all here, the reason most of us are here, clearly, as the stats will show. My wife, Dion. I know. So I thought to myself, I've tried to do something here that I thought would be nice, but I've realised my charts so far have been a little bit divisive. Calling people rude names, laughing at people, not a pleasant thing to do. I thought, I've got to try and fix this. Apparently I'm also accused of not being very romantic. Dion says that I take more photographs of the cats than I do of her. Now this isn't true. I went on my phone earlier and just asked it to give me 5 photographs at random. I don't know what's going to pop up. Okay, that's one of Jensen. I would that's another one. That's not Jensen. That's Jessica. That's Jensen. But these are completely at random. There's one of Dion. Nonsense, as you can see. But I thought what I would do is I would try and do one final chart for everybody that would try and fix some of the damage I've done. And I thought I'm starting off with a great big sunshine with the word Dion in the middle of it, because cheesy though it is, that's how I feel. And I then thought to myself, do you know what? In this beg your pardon. in this last ditch attempt at being romantic for the first time in a very long time, I thought what I could do, having started with a sunshine, I could put petals around the outside of it, turn it into a beautiful flower, and each one of those petals could have one of Dion's traits written in it. So there's a bit of schmaltz coming up, sorry. First one, she is fiercely loyal. Anybody in the room who has earned Dion's friendship, you will know she is like gum on your shoe. You can't get rid of her. She will do anything for anybody. She'll treat my kids like they're her own, and she's an absolutely incredible person to have in your corner. Petal number 1. I thought that was a nice one. Second one, beautiful. This is actually, people say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's not true, is it? Well, I'm just saying, Cheryl Cole, Sonia from EastEnders, does anybody disagree? Which is the beauty is not in the eye of the beholder. I thought Dion was pretty stunning when I first met her when I was 8. And if anything, she's improved with age, like a fine wine. She's good fun, and I think people. Actually the most important part of any relationship, we've always said that it's very easy to enjoy yourselves when you're going out, spending money, going to restaurants, going to concerts, but the real trick in any relationship is, do you have great fun when it's just the two of you sat on the sofa of an evening watching some crap on the TV? And that's the bit that people struggle to get right, and that's the bit that we do get right. Family is a massive deal to Dion, just as well, bearing in mind how many of you there are. But I've absolutely loved getting to know Dion's extended family. Paul and Lisa and their kids are absolutely fantastic. Even Teddy. Sorry, Ted, I had to get you in there somewhere. And the big family gatherings we have at Christmas, 22 people for Christmas dinner and whatever, it's absolutely brilliant. And for me, it's been an absolute privilege to be welcomed into the family unit. So thank you all for that. She's a homemaker. She keeps our house or our home in beautiful condition. Dion's actually got quite an old-fashioned view of these sorts of things. Insofar as she genuinely sees it as her role to keep the house nice, to look after the whole family, to put food on the table, those sorts of things. She's not demeaned by it. She doesn't think that's a sexist thing. It's what she wants to do, and she makes the home a beautiful place for us and for friends and family that come to visit. She is loving. She's Dion, she's smiling, she's tactile. If Dion loves you and cares about you, you know about it, and that's a really nice thing. You don't have to guess. It gives you a sense of security, and again, it's something that I'm hugely grateful for. So I looked at this and I thought, do you know what? I've done all right there. I've created something. It started as sunshine, turned into a flower. Lots of nice things around the outside, all of which I genuinely mean. But I looked at it also and I thought, it doesn't quite reflect what I think. I made a slight change. Okay, so beautiful is now quite a bit bigger, and it's now called fit. That's what I actually think, and I don't think I should be criticised for saying so. You will see that fun has had to take a little bit of a hit, but as Dion once said to me, she once said that I was shallow, and I said that's true, but at least it stops you having to worry about being nice. This is the end of everything that I want to say. You'll be pleased to know. You'll actually be able to go to the toilet and go for a wee shortly. Some serious words to end with. I talked about the numbers and the statistics in the room. To the 68% of you that I didn't know 7 years ago, it has been a pleasure getting to know each and every one of you, and I've been made entirely welcome. And I would also like to thank all 68% for looking out for Dion and loving her and looking after her for the last years. To the 32% of you that are members of Team Phil, I would like to thank you for your patience. I understand. In the words of one of my best friends, Chris Williams, Phil is an acquired taste. When your mates start describing you that way, you know that you're possibly a slightly divisive character. So to those 32%, I would like to thank you for your friendship, and to say that the last 48 years wouldn't have been nearly as much fun without you. To 100% of you, I would like to say thank you so much for being here today. It means the world to us that you've all taken the time out, and we look forward to every single one of you being part of our collective future. That is done, but apparently, again, I have this contractual clause about it. Technically, it has to be about Dion. So I would like you all to be upstanding and join me in a toast to Dion. Thank you.